So let's start with the second part of the comprehension of Unit 6, the fight. In the last video, we had seen about the story of two boys, how they were fighting for the pool, for the rights of the pool, who would be the right owner of the pool that was there in the forest, in their semi hill station, where Ranji had gone in the summer vacation. Now we continue with the story and we will see how this fight became they turned into be a good bond of friendship. How this fight made them how they came closer and how they became good friends. So let's start with the second part. When Ranji got home, he found it difficult to explain the cuts and bruises that showed on his face, legs, and arms. It was difficult to conceal the fact that he had been in an unusual, violent fight, and his mother insisted on his staying at home for the rest of the day. So, how this fight, when they had between Ranji and the other boy who claimed to be the rightly owner of the pool, how they fought and how all the bruises, all the cuts, all the marks on his face, on his body, he couldn't conceal it. That means he couldn't cover it. When he went home, and the fact that he was in an unusual, violent fight, and his mother insisted him to stay at home and not to go and not to get into a fight the next day. That evening, though he slipped out of the house and went to the bazaar, where he found comfort and solace in a bottle of vividly colored lemonade and a banana leaf full of hot, sweet jalebis. So he never went to the pool, but he, in the evening, to get himself relieved from the bruises, the cuts, the pain, the violent fight, and his mother not telling him to go to the pool the next day, in the same evening, he went to have a nice time in this, in a fair. The evening he slipped out of a house and went to the bazaar, where he found that everything was, in that it sort of like a fair was there in the bazaar, and he took a nice, he found peace, solace, he found peace there, and he took that vividly bright bottle of lemonade. Lemonade, you all are aware of what is a lemonade. It's a lemon water with soda, like fresh lime soda, and a banana leaf. In that banana leaf, he had hot jalebis that gave him a nice experience in the evening to forget about all that had happened with him. So he had just finished the lemonade when he saw his adversary coming down the road. Adversary here, the opposite, the one who had a fight with in the morning there in the pool. His first impulse was to turn away. His first impulse was to turn away and look elsewhere. His second, to throw the lemonade bottle at his enemy. But he did neither of it. Now he thought, it was all going in his mind, that firstly I should turn away and just look elsewhere and avoid this person who's coming in front of me, the boy who claimed to be, a good solid build and a fighter, and how he had a violent fight with him in the pool. He wanted to avoid him, and then he thought of, I should throw this lemonade bottle on him, but everything, whatever he thought, he never did it. So instead he stood his ground and scowled at his passing adversary. That means when he was passing this from one side, he looked at him in a very angry manner. His expressions on his face showed how angry he was and when he was passing. And the warrior said nothing either, but scrolled back with equal ferocity. So the warrior, the boy who thought himself to be a warrior, because he looked one kind, he was a solid built, muscly kind of boy, elder to Ranji. So he called himself a warrior, a fighter, and Ranji was a fighter. And he did nothing, but he did the same thing with double, expressions of being and fear, fierce, very cruel, very angry expressions on his face. He looked at Ranji and he passed. The next day was as hot as the previous one. Ranji felt weak and lazy and not at all eager for a fight. His body was stiff and sore after the previous day's encounter. So he was, after a violent fight, he was feeling weak, lazy, pain in his body, and it was a very hot afternoon, even hotter than the previous one. So his body was stiff, sores all over, pain all around, but he could not refuse the challenge. Not to turn up to the pool would be an acknowledgement of defeat. Yes, he remembered that the boy had told him that if you want to come in the pool, there's another challenge, we have to get into a fight again. And if, in spite of the pain, the bruises, everything, if Ranji will not turn up to the pool the next day, it will be acknowledged, it will be understood by the warrior, the other boy, the stranger, that he is defeated. Ranji is defeated without even getting into a fight. So he would not refuse to take this challenge. But he could not acquiesce in his own defeat. That means he could not accept. That means acquiesce. That means he could not accept his defeat. He must defy his enemy to the last or outwit him, for that he could gain his respect. Yes, he wanted to defeat, and at last he should defeat him to gain his respect. If he surrendered now, he would be beaten for all time. But to fight and be beaten today left him free to fight and be beaten again. That means if he surrender, he will be automatically termed as defeated. But he has to get into a fight, even if he lose. But he has to get into a fight and gain the respect. As long as he fought, he had the right to the pool in the forest. So that fight can go on for days. But if he fight, then only he can claim the right to the pool in the forest. He was half hoping that the warrior would have forgotten the challenge, but these hopes were dashed when he saw his opponent sitting stripped to the waist on a rock on the other side of the pool. So when he went to the pool, he thought that he must have forgotten the challenge and they will not get into a violent fight again. But then he saw this boy sitting on the other side of the pool with his shirt off, and he was there sitting on the rocks on the other side of the pool. The warrior was rubbing oil on his body. He saw Ranji beneath the sal tree and called a challenge across the waters of the pool. So he was ready. He was rubbing oil on this, like a wrestler, and he was sitting there on the rock and he was ready for a challenge. And when he saw Ranji near the sal tree, under the sal tree, he called off to Ranji. Come over on this side and fight, he shouted. But Ranji was not going to submit to any condition laid down by his opponent. Come this side and fight. he shouted back with equal vigor. That means with equal strength, he shouted that I will not come that side, you need to come this side. So they were all in an argument of coming to each other's side. Swim across and fight me here, called the other. Or perhaps you can't swim the length of this pool. But Ranji could have swum the length of the pool a dozen times without tiring. And here he would show the warrior his superiority. That means he was a very good swimmer. And he could, without getting tired, he could go back and forth. He could come to the length and breadth of the pool. He could swim without getting tired. So this is the time where he can show in what, if he's better than him, at least in one, he was not better in fighting and he was not healthy or well built, but he can swim very swiftly and can cross the pool, and this is the time where he can show that he is superior to his opponent. So slipping out of the vest, he dived straight into the water, cutting through it like a knife, and surfaced with hardly a splash. The warrior's mouth hung open in amazement. He was surprised. The warrior, the stranger, was surprised to see that how swiftly he jumped, he dived into the pool without a splash of water, like a knife cutting a hot knife cutting a butter, and so swiftly. And he was amused to see that, and his mouth hung open wide with amusement and shock. You can dive, he exclaimed. It is easy, said Ranji, treading water, waiting for a further challenge. Can't you dive? So now he is like feeling one point superior than his opponent, the warrior. And he said, you can't? Means you can't dive? No, said the other. I jumped straight in. But if you will tell me how I will make a dive. Now here Ranji is superior to the warrior, and the warrior asked Ranji that, will you teach me how to dive, because I don't know how. He actually accepted that he is not knowing how to dive. It is easy, said Ranji. Stand on the rock, stretch your arms out and allow your head to displace your feet. The warrior stood up stiff and straight, stretched out his arms and threw himself into the waters. He landed flat on his belly with a crash that sent the birds screaming out of the trees. So this was like a position. He was learning how to dive. He was stiff. He stretched straight out and he landed flat on his belly. So he needed practice. So he was ready to learn from Ranji how to dive, and Ranji showed him how to dive very swiftly without splashing water. And so when this stranger, when he jumped on his belly, he landed flat on his belly with a crash, sent the birds, it made a loud sound of water. And then screaming out, the birds flew screaming out of the tree. Ranji dissolved into laughter. This made Ranji smile, not smile, but to laugh loudly. It was like a fun for Ranji. Are you trying to empty the pool? He asked as the warrior came to the surface, spouting water like a small whale. Like how the whale spit water, same way he was spitting water from his mouth. Wasn't it good? Asked the boy, evidently proud of his feat. Not very good, said Ranji. You should have more practice. See, I will do it again. So Ranji was ready to teach him how to swim, how to dive in the water without splashing. So he said, you can improve. Let's see me and then you can try again. And pulling himself back on the rock, he executed another perfect dive. The other boy waited for him to come up, but swimming underwater, Ranji circled him and came up from behind. See, he was underwater diving actually. How did you do that? Asked the astonished youth. He was surprised He had not seen anyone doing something like this, like a small boy like Ranji. Can you swim underwater? Asked Ranji. No, but I will try it. The warrior made a tremendous effort to plunge to the bottom of the pool, and indeed, he thought he had gone right down. Though his bottom, like a duck's, remained above the surface. So he tried, he plunged, he get into the water, he jumped to the bottom of the pool, and indeed, he had gone right down, and though the bottom like a duck's remained above surface. So he was still in a process of learning. Ranji, however, did not discourage him. It was not bad, he said, but you need a lot of practice. Will you teach me? Asked his enemy. So they were close into becoming friends, where both of them wanted to learn something from each other. If you like, said Ranji, they had pulled themselves. Okay, you must teach me. If you do not teach me, I will beat you. Will you come here every day and teach me? So this boy has invited now Ranji to teach how to dive and how to do underwater diving, and he said that if you will not come, then I will surely beat you. But it was in a very joyful manner. He told him. It was not actually. It was it was in a very sarcastic way. He said, "If you like," said Ranji. They had pulled themselves out of the water and were sitting side by side on a smooth grey rock. "My name is Suraj," said the warrior. "What is yours?" "It is Ranji." Now here is the start of a new friendship where both of them, introduced each other to them as Suraj and Ranji. "I am strong and I am not," said Suraj, bending his arm so that a ball of muscle stood up, stretching the white of his flesh. "You are strong," said Ranji. "You are a real pehelwan." That means he was a wrestler, a pehelwan, as it said. He was strong. "One day I will be the world's champion wrestler," said Suraj, slapping his thighs, which shook with the impact of his hand. You must have seen how the wrestlers, how they behave and what are the body language and how. So that is how he said that one day I want to become the world's finest wrestler, or a world champion wrestler. "You're quite strong yourself," he conceded. "But you are too bony," he said. So Suraj told Ranji that he is also strong, but he is not muscle-built, but he is bony. "I know you do not eat enough. You must come and have your food with me. I drink 1 seer of milk every day." That means 1 seer. Seer means here same as seer. Seer, same as seer. S-E-R. A unit of weight used previously in India. A seer, less than a liter, and was 1/40th of a mound. So it was like a half a liter in one go, he said, in once. He did more than. It's a measurement unit. How you measure milk in liter. Previously it was measured in seer, S-E-R, seer. "So you have got your own cow. Be my friend and I will make you a pehelwan like me." See, he offered. In turn, he was learning how to dive and how to do underwater swimming from Ranji. So he said, "You come with me, I will make you strong like a pehelwan. I know if you teach me to dive and swim underwater, I will make you a pehelwan. That is fair, isn't it?" "That is fair," said Ranji, though he doubted if he was getting the better in exchange. Suraj put his arm around the younger boy and said, "We are friends now." So they looked at each other with honest, unflinching eyes, and in the moment, love and understanding were born. So Suraj was elder to Ranji, so he put his arm around him and he said, "We are friends now," because they are learning from each other and they are quite gelling in with each other. And they said that we are friends now. And when they looked in each other's eyes, there was honesty. There was unflinching eyes. That means they looked straight into each other with honesty, with understanding, with love for each other. That was the beginning of a good, strong friendship. "We are friends," said Ranji. The birds had settled again in the branches and the pool was quiet and limpid. That means clear, in the shade of the sal tree. "It is our pool," said Suraj. "Nobody else can come here without our permission. Would you dare?" Who would dare? Now, who would dare to come into now? Firstly, they were fighting for the pool and now they have become such good friends. The bond has become so strong now that they are saying that this pool is belonging not to anyone, it is us. It is our pool and who will dare to come here? Who would dare? Said Ranji, smiling with the knowledge that he had won the day. Yes, actually, it was not a victory of anyone. It was a victory of friendship. It was a beginning. It was a victory of a new friendship, new strong bond that they were connected in. How two strangers got into a fight and how that fight turned into a friendship, a strong bond that they had, that was the beginning of a strong bond between them. And it was ending of, means like the ending of the chapter was very peaceful. The bond of friendship, they had seen challenges, they had seen fight, they had seen, the next is the friendship that had begun among them. The bond had become very strong and now it is not there that any one school, it was there, it was us together, and that was the end of the chapter. I hope you have understood the chapter well, and please see the videos and mark the answers. Thank you.